Today we're going to talk about Todo Cloud as a productivity solution and help you get set up. We're going to go from beginning to end, talking about how to find the app, install it, how to get started, and how to maximize your use. First things first, the easiest way to find the application that's relevant for your device is to go to appago.com, navigate to Downloads. From Downloads, you can then see the application that's specific to your device. From the Apple App Store, you'll search for Todo Cloud with this look, this icon, and these screenshots. On Google Play, you'll look for the icon, the name, and the screenshots that are just like this. So now that you've got one of the applications downloaded and installed on your device, we're going to go ahead and use it. Let me demonstrate this from the web. Log into todo-cloud.com, which I have in a new tab. Sign in or register to access your new account. This new account is the same that you'll use across any mobile device. Once you log in, this is what you'll see: a blank canvas with some starting smart lists and no standard lists. These are the sections of the interface that you should be focused on. Your inbox, where items gather by default, some starting smart lists, each one of them have a little bit different functionality, space to create new lists, and then your working space where you can actually create tasks. Let me show you from the Apple device what the experience is like when you first create an account. If I open the app and I log in, these are the first set of screens that I'll see. A user can skip these questions. This time through, we're going to answer the questions. If I click this hand down here at the bottom, I can navigate between screens. The first question asks, what are your challenges across these 4 areas? And click the hand to advance. How familiar are you with the productivity system? Select and advance. When can you plan? This will trigger a planning alert, which is a reminder to encourage you to do your daily planning. Next, you're asked what tasks are on your mind. You can see the task populate into the Todo Cloud interface. I can add details, or I can advance. Next, you're informed about the features and functions of the premium account for which you have a 14-day trial. You're given details about what that premium account includes, as well as the costs. And at this point, you're all ready to go to log into the app. Now I've got a task that's very similar in nature to the Todo Cloud web interface. The difference is that I've created a task in my iOS app under Everything. If I want that to sync to the cloud, I pull down from the top. I do the same thing over here. I reload the page, and now I've got my new task. Go to the store. Next, let me walk through the areas of the app that are relevant for you. The inbox is the default collection place for all new tasks. Unless I make a change in my settings, any new task will drop in here. The smart list section, visible here, begins with 4 default smart lists. Everything includes all my tasks. Focus includes any overdue tasks or those due within 3 days. I can see the logic of the smart list filter by clicking these 3 ellipses and then viewing my smart list. If I click on this filter, I'll see the logic. This shows me any task relative to 3 days from now. So overdue and due in the future until 3 days from now. I can make changes to this focus smart list, or I can accept the defaults. The next thing I can do is add some lists here. I'll add a few lists that are relevant for me. Work, personal, church, community. And these will be collection places for me to add tasks relevant to those categories. Now let's get started talking about how I can create tasks, projects, and checklists. Maybe when I go shopping, I have a regular checklist. So let's create that first. Shopping. I'm going to select checklist. And that shopping checklist is created. By default, my options change to task or item. I can create a new task or a sub-item on the checklist. These might be my items. A checklist item doesn't have extra details. I can click into it to edit. I can drag its location. However, I can click to make changes on the checklist itself. So maybe shopping is something I do every week. In that case, I'm going to select a reoccurrence, and I'll choose every week based on either due date or completion date. Due date will rotate based on Friday, March 13th, when this is initially due. Completion date will create a reoccurrence based on when I've completed that task. So if I complete it on Wednesday before Friday comes, the next one repeats on Wednesday. I'm going to set this on completion date because my shopping isn't always consistent. I might also put a reminder when I'm passing by the grocery store. And the grocery stores by my house are close to this park. So I could zoom in, but today I'm just going to drop a pin right there. In this instance, when I'm passing by that location or arriving, I want an alert. So I'm going to save that checklist item. Now I'm going to set a reminder at 12 o'clock noon on Friday the 13th. The reminders cue off of the due date. So 12 o'clock p.m. on Friday the 13th, I'll get a reminder. Next, I might add a couple notes here, and I'll say something like, remember to check in with my wife before I go, and take the second credit card, and take my reusable bags. Things that I can remember when the task comes up. Next, I can add a priority. If this is a priority item that I want to sort in my list, I'll put a priority here. Tags, I might add the grocery store that I shop at. So I hit enter and it loads right here. This also keeps a running count of tasks with that tag. Alright, so that's a checklist item. Now let me add a new task, and I'm going to say mow the lawn. Now you will notice that because I'm in the community list, both of these items have defaulted to the community list. That's a setting that I can adjust. Now you will notice that both of these new tasks were created in my community list because I was already in the community list. That's the standard action. If shopping is one of my personal items, I can drag it to my personal list. Lists function the same way as folders do. So I can do the same thing for my mow the lawn task. Maybe community, I have a service project, so I'll add a project there. And my project automatically creates a hierarchy with subtasks below it. So maybe for this project, I need to define the goals, create a committee, define the funding, call a sponsor if we're doing service for someone, schedule the meeting, and so on. Every single one of these projects can have details at the project parent level as well as details on the subtask level. So everything can repeat at a different time. The other very cool thing here, they all default to a due date of Friday, March 13th. That's a setting in my global settings. Task creation, due date today. So I can change that to none or one of these other options. I'm going to keep it on today. If I create this project and I want to spread these things over different dates, I'll do it this way. I've got my calendar down here and I'm going to drag tasks onto those calendar dates. So maybe I define the goals first, and I'll do that on Monday. And then I'll create the committee on Tuesday. And then I will schedule the meeting on Wednesday. And then I call a sponsor on Thursday. And last item, I will define the funding on Friday. So you see all my dates reflected, and they also changed position because I have due date as my sort order type, followed by priority. So if two items have the same due date, then the sort moves on to the priority setting. I can change this, and I can change it to alphabetical if I'd rather. I expand that project, and now I have everything ordered in alphabetical order. I can also change it to priority due date. Next, I'm going to add a checklist, and this checklist will be helpful as I define items to bring to the meeting. You notice that dropped in because I hadn't selected my project parent. I can still drag and drop this into my project, and it now becomes part of my project details. So define items to bring to the meeting. I'm going to select it. It defaults to item, and I'm going to say paper goods, desserts, we like desserts, and then laptop. Now everything's organized in the project. I'm going to button that up. This, you notice, is still part of community, and the count is now 7 because there's a project and the subtasks. So far we've reviewed the inbox, custom lists, tasks, projects, and checklists, and the task details. The last thing I'll cover here is creating a smart list. Do you remember that shopping list that had a tag of Walmart? This becomes a very powerful way to create a filtered view of tasks organized according to my interests. I'm going to define my own, and I'm going to say Walmart. So maybe I do a lot of things at Walmart and I have a lot of tags using that label. There we go. So now that I've got a Walmart smart list and I, in my filter, included the tag Walmart, this shopping item is part of that because this shopping item has that tag. That's the way smart lists work. Really quite intuitive. So what I'm going to do is refresh my iOS app, and all this data that's in the cloud already is going to be pulled down onto my iOS app. So I'll give it just a minute, and there we go. It matches exactly. The other thing I'll call out here are the labels. So this says I have one item due today or overdue because it's Friday, March 13th, and it's 12 p.m. That's when I set my reminder. And in my clock, it's 3:29 p.m. So already this one item, the master checklist, is overdue. That's why it shows up as 1. If I have one of my other tasks and I set it to a date in the past, like yesterday, it'll turn red. The other thing I might do is create a start date. So start dates can't happen after due dates, but I might say start date was the 11th, it's green. Due date is in the future, it's blue. And when it's overdue, it turns red. So it's only overdue when the reminder is in the past. Notice today's Friday, March 13th. It won't turn red until midnight unless I set a reminder and I choose 12 p.m. today. Now when I click over to refresh, the due date is red. Let me show you some more really cool things on the iOS app that are slightly different than on the web app. If I go into my everything list and I have something I want to edit, now I've got mow the lawn start date and end date and appointment reminder. If I long press, which is a soft press of the button, then I get this quick menu. The quick menu gives me quick options to make edits to my task. I might want to add a tag, and I may even want to flag this one as important, and I may even want to duplicate. If I'm going to duplicate, all of the relevant task details are copied over. So no longer is this mow the lawn, but it's clean the windows. And I clean the windows every time I mow the lawn. So I'm okay with this clean the windows task having all of the details from my mow the lawn task. There we go. Clean the windows, mow the lawn, same frequency, same situation. Oh, but maybe I want to change my mow the lawn to also have a reoccurrence. So I'm going to have it repeat every Friday. This time I'm going to have it repeat based on due date because I know that I need to mow the lawn every Friday, whether or not I do it. There we go. Now, since today is Friday, perhaps I mowed the lawn. If I select this mow the lawn as complete, it animates and gives me a couple seconds to adjust it. Once it's done, you see right there in the completed section, this is Friday, March 13th. My new task shows up with the due date of Friday, March 20th, and a start date of Wednesday, March 18th, which was 2 days before the due date, following the same pattern that I had on my previous task. Wednesday, March 11th, Friday, March 13th. If you recall, that was the same thing for mow the lawn. So that reoccurrence is pretty powerful. Another thing to show you on the iOS app is the calendar view. So here the calendar view is in the top right. From the calendar view, I can see today's date is the 13th, but my go to the store doesn't have a due date. So let's choose go to the store due on the 15th. When I scroll back here, you'll see that the 15th is now in a bold font. If I select that, I've actually filtered everything else out. So let's show you how that works. If I create another task here in my inbox, finish the assignment, that task, finish the assignment, has a due date of March 13th by default. If I select the 15th, I'm only going to get go to the store because that's the task that is due on the 15th. And that view is filtered until I clear up top here with this button. There we go, now I see all my tasks again. Another thing I'll show you about iOS is task creation. So if I'm creating a series of tasks together, they drop into a queue. Finish the laundry, make dinner. The value of this is that you can see all your tasks together and they don't disappear from your view. I can also select, which I'm doing here on finish the laundry, and I can add details to finish the laundry or to make dinner, all before releasing them into the list. I click done once more and those tasks are released into the list. I can also swipe to the left and I can edit details, or in this instance, I can also delete. Delete gives me a quick prompt to make sure I want to do that. I say yes, and I've deleted that task from my view. From the iOS view, there's a couple ways to move tasks around. I can either use the quick menu and change the list, or I can swipe to the left, edit my details, or I can select to change my list here. There we go. So those items have disappeared from my inbox view. And now they're in my everything view, because that collects everything. Or I can look in my individual views, and I can see the tasks that are grouped into those folders or those lists. This is a robust way to create a workflow with everything passing through my inbox until I've had a chance to sort it, add extra task, project, or checklist details, and move it into my system of organization in a custom list. Once items are in a custom list, then they'll also show up in one of these smart lists. From the iOS view, I can also access my project and checklist options by clicking this plus button down here in the bottom right. The last thing I'll show you on the iOS app is the menu. This menu gives you some default options as well as access to your settings. From your settings, you can make default adjustments for tasks across lists, as well as ways that you can be notified. Notifications happen here. Defaults are selected here. And default priorities can be set also on the custom smart list level. And with that, we'll call it a wrap. We've covered a lot of things from beginning to end. Finding the app, downloading, installing it, using it, understanding lists, checklists, projects, smart lists, and other things. We hope that you can get more things done using Todo Cloud. We want to be your helper, your assistant as you do more of the things that matter most. And we hope you have a great day. Thanks.